Hi, I'm Jason Statham, and this is just some generic waffle as I walk towards the bike that we're riding today. We're here in Valencia, and we're going to be riding this, the all-new Ducati Panigale V4.
214 bhp, 195 kilograms. Sounds naughty, doesn't it?
Well, this is going to be a pretty sweet day, I think.
So come on. So tell me about the day. Tell me about the event.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to talk about. I mean, there's no way we can make a video. Realistically, this deserves an hour just to itself. But
We can do that.
this place will be shut soon. So obviously the launch of Valencia, it was we went out to dinner on the night before, and there was I don't know what it was sort of a science and right in the middle of
The thing
Valencia.
with the white
Yes, the weird thing.
dip dogs.
Yeah. So we went in there, walking down there, and all of a sudden this red curtain lifted, and out of the smoke was this Panigale V4S,
Yeah.
and of course all the public were like, "What's this? What's this?" But yeah, that was the night before, and then obviously got up nice and early, got to the track. Valencia is quite a strange track. The Ricardo's Tourmoist circuit is quite a strange track to launch the most powerful production litre bike. It's a very tight, twisty track, but then as soon as we rode it, it made sense as to why we were there in the first place.
And why is that?
I can't chuck enough superlatives at it.
Really?
Sue Perkins at it.
Enough Sue Perkins at it.
I can't chuck enough superlatives at it. It's just, I don't even know where to begin. It's so bloody good. It exceeded every one of my expectations.
I think it's very safe to say this is the most anticipated bike of 2018.
Definitely. Yes, it's so fast, as you'd expect from a 1100cc or 1103cc V4. But that wasn't the standout thing, and it was the handling. It doesn't steer like a Ducati. Every Ducati I've ridden, every Ducati superbike I've ridden, whether it be 848, 999, 1098, 1198 Panigale, they've had some sort of weird steering or understeer.
Or vagueness.
Or vagueness on track.
Yeah.
This has to be one of the best handling bikes out there. Now, yes, there are changes to the frame. The chassis, the actual geometry isn't too far off the old 1299.
Yeah. We've got this big, this is the most
Exactly.
noticeable, this big bracing arm bit here.
The front frame, they call it.
Is that what it's called?
I mean, it's impossible to know exactly what that front frame does in terms of handling, because I think the key thing here, and no one's really talking about it, is the counter-rotating crank.
Yes.
Now, every GP bike has a counter-rotating crank. MV use it, and I'm kind of struggling to see why other manufacturers haven't brought it to their road bikes. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we'll see it now because this thing is so good.
Yeah.
Now, this counter-rotating crank obviously makes the engine so light. The throttle feels light, it spins quickly. Obviously, it brings less inertia. Also, it helps the bike turn. So you get less gyroscopic force, and allows the bike to meet an apex.
So the wheels are going this way.
Yes.
And the engine's going that way.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a bizarre thing. You've got obviously 4 cylinders, and thanks to the twin pulse ignition, which essentially runs it like a twin, so 2 banks of twins, which is what gives that sound. So the firing intervals give that twin sound.
Right, okay.
And it's only when you get up to 10,000 RPM that you realise you're riding a V4, apart from obviously saying a V4 on the side. So weird. Like, obviously it looks very Panigale, still feels very Panigale. New switch gear, I like this new tank shape, it's much nicer. Obviously the dash is new, but the sound, it still sounds like a twin. It sounds like you're running the 1299 still. And it's only when you get to, well, we'll show you in a minute, 7-8 grand, that you start to sound like a V4. That is insane. Oh, I wish everyone could experience a Desmodromic V4 with a counter rotating crank and an Akrapovic full system. This is insane. This is so much better than me. I will never, ever, ever be anywhere near the level of this bike, but fuck, it makes you feel special. Man, I don't know how GP riders do 32 laps around here. I'm blowing out of my body after 5 or 6. Machines. Whereas before you had the twin engine, obviously you had an L twin, and they're inherently lumpy at the bottom.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, there's no way you can get rid of that. Yep. So anything below 3,000, it was just a mess.
Hard work.
Whereas this, pull out a pit lane, just a little whiff of clutch, you don't have to touch the throttle, of course you're going to touch the throttle because you want to hear it. But it's quite, I mean, I say deceptively fast. There's nothing, it's not as leery or as peaky as a Panigale motor.
Yeah.
It's very smooth.
Let's face it, a good thing.
Yes, definitely. It's very smooth. It's very linear. So, which is exactly why Ducati, we talked about this earlier off camera. What's the point in tuning a 1,000cc bike to make Euro 4 regulations just to go racing with? Let's just stick another 100cc on it, so you get that torque at the bottom, and then you can sort of tune your engine spec. You can choose your bore and stroke, and you can basically what it is. It's a really, really punchy bottom end, loads of grunt, and it just carries on going into this V4 top end that revs to 14,000 RPM, and it is bonkers. It's so fast. It blurs the scenery like no other 1,000cc bike, as you'd expect from a claimed 214 horsepower or whatever it is.
Does it feel like that?
It does feel like that, yeah. And even when you've got a nice straight in front of you like Valencia, you're hitting fifth gear at 170, 80 miles an hour, and you're braking into that corner.
Obviously had one of the best brake setups in the previous bike, and this has surely got to be even better. Because this is the new M50, is it?
This is the Stylimer.
Whatever
they actually pronounce it, but that's the new progression for the M50. I mean, there's no way you want any more stopping power, or why you want any more stopping power.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because other bikes, well, I don't know about this one, but in the older M50, they'd have the same caliper, the same master cylinder, but they just wouldn't feel the same on the brakes as Ducati would.
Exactly, yeah.
And I don't know what magic they've got, like
I don't know.
unicorn pee in the fluid or something.
It must be, yeah. Or unicorn poo just sprinkled in.
Yeah.
There's almost a supernatural balance to the bike, which is rarely flustered. From corner entry all the way through to corner exit, the Panigale V4 now has enough minerals to worry any production bike. It took minimal effort to meet any of Valencia's apexes with a front end that dishes out masses of confidence, and, even on road tyres, was begging to be abused. No surprise when you consider its 54% front end bias. And, given the overindulgence in the cubes department, you're going to need something very special to get anywhere near it in a straight line too, like a bloody turbo. Let's hope Ducati's pushing of boundaries manifests itself into other manufacturers fleeing the constraints of the racing nest. Peaky deliveries, choppy throttles, and other compromises in the name of emissions should be a thing of the past. In spite of the smooth, torque-infested bottom end and a delicious spread of power, being a superbike from Bologna means the V4 still needs revving on track. Extracting the absolute best from the Desmo requires 8,000 and above, until power begins to subside at around 13,000 RPM. Some brands have invested millions in developing engine technology to play at the front. Suzuki, for example, in their variable valve timing, when all you need to do is whack another 100cc into the mix. The V4's seamless yet pulsating delivery makes you question its internal magic. I'm sure a few customers will be agonising over the 16-litre tank and trivialities such as fuel consumption, although I don't need to tell you this is a bike destined for shredding rubber on track. Lap times are almost irrelevant though, despite the V4's palpable pace and test rider, Alessandro Valia, lapping Valencia within 5 seconds of Jorge Lorenzo's record. It's the way in which it delivers the power, the noise, the assault on every sense, the way in which it makes you feel. As I mentioned in my first ride thoughts, I'm trying desperately hard not to succumb to launch fever, or use the phrase game changer, but Ducati has changed the game, like BMW did with the original S1000RR. After reading a few comments, a final message to the heroes insisting these gizmos are ruining modern superbikes. Go ahead, turn them off, but you'll be faster, safer, and have more fun with that little orange light flashing.
This is the first bike, apart from the Superleggera, this is the first bike other than the R1 to have the slide control.
Yep, proper slide control.
Yes. And it was quite difficult to fathom Alessandro Valia, what he was saying about the slide control and the traction control. He said around Valencia, the penultimate left,
over the crest,
where everyone drifts.
Yeah.
He said you can go around there and you can hold the throttle flat in 4th gear. Just open it up and it will steer. I didn't do it, not in the first session. Ultimately, you have to be a bit of a twat to crash this bike.
Right, okay.
The electronics are so good.
Legal disclaimer in the
Yes.
subtitles. I bought one and I crashed it.
Certainly, when things are up to temperature, when the tyres are up to temperature, and I'm not saying that it's impossible to crash, because I'm sure if you hit a patch or some wet or something else, if the conditions are great, I can't see how you'd be able to high side this.
But the key thing I think I'm getting from what you're saying is that is very unlike all the other Ducatis in the past, because they've been very, very crashable.
Exactly, and the thing is, well, yes, it's fast. Yes, it's Larry. It's a V4. It sounds pretty cool, but it's smooth. It's stable. It's predictable, and there are traits. They are traits that haven't been associated with the Ducati Super.
But it's still got that Ducati passion and
there's something
sex.
A sort of intangible thing that comes with the Ducati, definitely. Now, I have to ask, because this was one of the most commonly asked questions before I came out here to ride the bike. There was lots and lots and lots of our readers who were asking, when will this motor be available in the naked bikes?
It's okay, tricky question, difficult answer.
But it will happen?
Oh, let's say we are, as we do for many different projects and many different bikes, we always compare the options, trying to understand if these kind of solutions are better than others for a certain application. This V4 born for sure in an optimal application in a superbike. We are considering if getting again with a naked one, as it was for the Street Fighter, but currently is, let's say, under investigation, under evaluation.
Well, I can tell you now, it will work. So please make it.
Happy to hear.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Marco.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
Thank you.
So what about the electronic Öhlins?
There's no doubt that the Öhlins Smart EC2 goes a long way to helping Ducati's work with the chassis and everything else, because it is the first electronically sprung bike that I'd happily take over a conventionally sprung bike. Definitely. There are no compromises anymore. So the 1299 on the road was okay, but on track, from braking into apex, that moment is quite. It's just a bit.
You don't want to smear that tyre into the front, into the surface, do you? And
you don't want to just chuck it in. Yeah.
That's the bit.
So what Öhlins have done essentially is it's event-based, so it tells you when you're braking and when you're on the gas, and uses the IMU and the rest of the electronics to figure that out. So what they've done is added more events. So rather than having one dot there at the braking and one dot at the apex, they've basically made more dots to join the dots and make it more fluid. Right, and that's the basic, the gist. And I chatted to Per from Öhlins out there, and that's a seamless segue. So although the Panigale V4 is absolutely stunning to look at, perhaps the aspect that we most look at as riders is the dash. Now we've got a full 5-inch colour puppy now, and it's got some pretty cool gizmos. So on the right hand side here, the switch gear, we control the rider modes, perfectly intuitive, pretty easy to use. And then we've got Per again here. So can you give us a bit of a tour around the interface? This is the thing that really gets me for this bike.
Yeah, sure. As part of Smart EC2 for this bike, you also have a new suspension tuning interface. So if you go into the dash, the settings menu, into DES, Ducati Electronic Suspension. Then we have a new interface if you go into custom dynamic suspension. Then you have a new interface with brake support, front fork, shock absorber, steering damping, acceleration and mid-corner. And what we try to do with this interface is move away from tuning suspension adjusters and more towards what the rider feeling is, characteristics of the bike. So if, for example, if you need more brake support, you feel that the bike is diving too fast during braking, you go into brake support and you can increase or decrease. This works together with the Smart Easy algorithm, so it knows what the bike are doing and what you are doing, so you are able to affect only certain events. So you can affect only brake support and add more brake support, but still the bike won't be too high into the corner or too stiff mid-corner and so on.
Blimey. Yeah, it really is. It's a really big advancement in terms of electronics, isn't it, this?
Yeah, we think it turned out okay. And then also if you go to front fork shock absorber, you can adjust the overall level of those components. And if you go to acceleration, then you can tune the suspension only during acceleration. So if you have problem with pumping, for example, then you can go more towards stability. And if you're on a really bumpy track and you're gentle with the throttle, then you can go more towards grip. And then the rear wheel will follow the ground better and you will have more grip. So you can express this adjustment in terms of those characteristics instead of, I need less rebound for this track and so on. You can adjust only for certain events and what the rider is feeling and not so much what the suspension adjuster should be.
So I'm guessing mid-corner, usually you have, you tweak something, you tweak compression or rebound.
Yeah. And
for mid-corner, I mean, what does that do? That is literally, that controls the damping during mid-corner.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So you have no compromise on the front brake, on the brakes or the general setup of the bike.
It will affect only mid-corner.
And it's such a shame we don't get to see this in racing anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
We're pushing, of course.
Great, thanks, Per.
Thank you.
Yeah. It looks narrow though. It looks really thin.
It is thin. It feels like a 600 to ride, but the pegs have been raised 10 mil. I'm guessing for ground clearance issues, because it needed it on the 1299. Of course, with extra handling capability and everything else that goes with it, I guess they need to raise them up a bit. But other than that, it does feel like just another Panigale.
Did you test any with race exhausts?
We had a session with the stock V4S with slicks on and the full Akrapovic, sorry.
Oh, nice.
Really nice, yeah. But it's also $4,000, I think.
Oh.
But it's that's 12 horsepower more, 11 kilos less. So it's going to be worth it, and it is worth it. It's stupid.
From many years of best superbike testing, the RSV4 Aprilia has often been right up there at the top, if not winning, very close to winning.
It's going to be really tough. I still think the Aprilia is more fluid over a lap, but in terms of handling, thanks to that rotating crank and whatever else the changes that Ducati made, it's narrow. It feels nimble and agile, and you
said off camera it felt like a 600.
It feels like a 600. It feels like you're riding a 600 until you open the throttle. And I haven't ridden a bike that holds the line as well as this. But I'm convinced that's down to the crank. And you'd have to look at the apex and it falls in. So although it is super sharp, there's no stability issues either.
Which is nice. So even it's going to flatter a rider that could probably not get on with the previous generation superbike Ducatis.
Definitely.
Like now, knobbers can ride it too.
Yeah, it will. You're in.
I might get one.
Yeah, it's definitely broadened I'm sure it will broaden the Ducati spectrum. Definitely.
Good.
Yeah.
So, braking's phenomenal.
Yeah.
General mid-corner manners.
Yeah.
Mid-corner manners. That sounds a bit like a TV show on like Channel 4.
Yeah.
Now, but getting on the gas, like throttle pickup and out of a corner, controlled, calm, lovely. Yeah,
very controlled. As I said earlier, the throttle's so much smoother. It's more predictable. There's a nicer sort of rear wheel connection you get with the throttle and the rear wheel. It's got this Larry V4, or a rampant. It's got a rampant 1103cc engine.
Yeah.
But the throttle and the electronics tidy it up beautifully. There's no sort of intervention or intrusion.
Yeah. So it's just
You
like
see-
a little guardian angel helping
Exactly.
you.
Yeah. Like a little desmodromic angel coming down
I like
and just making sure you stay on the bike. Yeah, exactly that. The side control makes you look like a hero. It makes you feel like a hero. But it gets to a point that it just becomes a second nature.
Yeah.
You have no. You're not thinking, oh God, I can feel. Oh no, this feels weird.
Which is fantastic, because all the Panigales I've ridden in the past have felt anything but like that.
Yeah.
It's always been like, whoop, 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 hang on, and you're trying to tame the beast.
Yeah.
Whereas this finally feels like what the Panigale should always have been, maybe. So what's wrong with it then?
At the track yesterday, sort of making notes and stuff, and I'm really struggling to figure out or pick one major fault.
Wow, it's that good.
I mean, yes, the quick shifter I still don't think is the blip is incredible. The quick shifter upshifting isn't as slick as it could be. Whether or not that's the cut time or the lever, it's just quite soft. It doesn't feel as precise as it should do. And I'd say, we talked about it earlier off camera. I think this exhaust, don't get me wrong, the styling's fantastic. It obviously serves a purpose. And Bologna engineers, aren't they, going, oh, we must make this bike pass MSV noise test. Yes.
Noise testing.
But unfortunately, it's going to be the same thing again. You're not going to be able to ride these bikes, really, I don't think, in the UK.
Which is insane, because
Yeah.
if it's a road legal bike
Yeah.
with a stock legal exhaust, but then you do get special dispensation. For
Yeah,
some
there
reason,
are-
Ducatis do get special dispensation all the time. I don't really know why. Oh, yeah, let me in. Right.
It is strange, but even with some tracks at Silverstone they say if you've got a standard Panigale with no exhaust on, yeah, crack on.
Yeah.
But MSV have started clamping down, or MSV tracks have started clamping down. So, yeah, that's just being pernickety.
Yeah.
And it's a 24 grand bike, and this is really being anal now. But things like the mirrors and not being fixed and stuff, it's not. You're paying 24 grand for a bike. I just think that there could have been a little bit of an upgrade from the 1299.
But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to ride it. And on that subject, we have got a pretty good test coming up in the next couple of months.
Yes, I think that's what people want to know, isn't it? I think
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of jealous Aprilia owners,
Yeah.
or Aprilia owners who have put forward their order for an RF and are thinking, actually now, I need some of this.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of RFs knocking around on
Yeah.
Auto Trader.
And as I said, I think it will broaden the Ducati spectrum. We'll see other riders who have previously not wanted a twin, or not
Yeah.
got or tested in one and go, oh, it's a bit different. Whereas they've still managed to keep that inherent Ducati.
Excitement,
Yeah.
special feeling,
Yeah.
but you can ride it.
Yeah.
So we've obviously got the test of all tests coming up, which is this new V4 Ducati versus the V4 Aprilia RF, and that's at Jerez, which is
Yeah.
our annual 2 head-to-head shootout location.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, that's the perfect track for it, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't get much better than that.
No. Mate, if I was going to go and buy a bike tomorrow,
Apart from
But-
Super Ducati.
no, this is it now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This is it.
This
This
is
is better
it.
than Super Ducati.
I want this, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to buy my Super Ducati?
No.
It does feel proper narrow. Like the bars feel like wings. I like it.